You can only worship, you can only pray, you can only do things a certain way. Otherwise, you're a cult and you deserve to die. There was literally tens of thousands of people who were put to death because they were mislabeled and mishandled, and much evil was attributed to them they never even did because they separated from the religious tradition of the Mother Church. From the religious tradition of the Mother Church. Separated from the religious tradition of the Mother Church. Now that's the truth. Now that's the truth. So now we have modern day inquisitors going around putting names on people that they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death. That they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death. That they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death. So it's a murderous intent. So it's a murderous intent. So it's a murderous intent.
Hear the word of the Lord, you who tremble at his word. Your brothers who hate you and cast you out for my name's sake have said, let the Lord be glorified, that he may see your joy.
Receive my spirit.
But it is they who shall be put to shame.
Lord, do not hold the sin against them.
Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account.
If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you're of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours. But all these things they will do to you on account of my name, because they do not know him who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not have been guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father also. If I had not done among them the works that no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have seen and hated both me and my Father. But the word that is written in their law must be fulfilled. They hated me without a cause.
Which of the prophets did your fathers not persecute? And they killed those who announced beforehand the coming of the righteous one, whom you have now betrayed and murdered.
Wish that you be kind enough to hear us briefly. We have found this man to be a troublemaker, stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. He is a ringleader of the Nazarene sect and even tried to desecrate the temple. So we seized him. By examining him yourself, you will be able to learn the truth about all these charges we are bringing against him.
The Jews joined in the accusation, asserting that these things were true. When the governor motioned for him to speak, Paul replied,
in most cults, you'll have a singular leader who believes that they are the voice of God for that group. And you'll have a group of followers who believe that...
So now we have modern day inquisitors going around putting names on people that they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death. That they are a cult in the hopes that they will likewise be put to death. In the hopes that they will likewise be put to death.
Imagine. Islamic soldiers force your 10-year-old son to gather wood for a fire. The soldiers pressure him to convert to Islam. When he refuses, he's thrown on the burning wood he collected and left to die.
They told me I would be released if I became a Muslim. I told them that was not possible. I am a Christian, so they threw me on the fire.
Your son escapes, but the scars remain, a reminder of his sacrifice. Imagine, your teenage daughter goes to Bible camp. On the second day, the students are attacked. One of the attackers secures her hands behind her back, while another holds a piece of broken glass to her stomach. She's told to deny Christ.
I did not answer him, so he pressed the glass harder against me. "Do you believe your God can help you?" he asked.
Dripped with fear, she cries out, "Help me, Lord, I do not want to deny you." Imagine, your pastor has refused to register his church with the government. During the service, he's dragged from the church and beaten by the local police. When the officers find a Bible hidden in his shirt, he's beaten with it.
After returning home, I felt pain all over my body. It was almost numb at the beginning, but later became so painful that I could not sleep.
It is the 5th time he's been arrested. If he's caught again, the police say they will kill him. Every day, thousands of Christians are persecuted for their faith. Hundreds are martyred, about 1 every 3 minutes. They're not heroes or statistics, they're family. In over 40 nations around the globe, our family is assaulted for their testimony of Jesus Christ. In most instances, the persecution could have been averted if they had simply denied Christ. But they didn't, and they won't. In Sudan, an Islamic army set on jihad, or holy war, has systematically targeted Christians. Death and suffering can be seen throughout the countryside. Countless Christians are being displaced within their own country. Fleeing from persecution, they've lost everything, often arriving at refugee camps with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. In spite of heavy persecution, the church in Sudan continues growing at astonishing rates. Many of the believers bear the scars of their faith, but they also bear a testimony to God's faithfulness. Over 500 churches have been destroyed in Indonesia. On the island of Ambon, Christians have been massacred in a so-called religious cleansing by radical Muslims. Facing increased persecution, pastors in Jakarta have encouraged their congregations to stand firm, confident that their suffering is a prelude to coming revival. With the fall of communism in Eastern Europe, many have hailed its defeat. But Christians in North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, or China would disagree. Hmong villagers have been imprisoned in Vietnam and Laos after converting to Christianity. Some have had boiling water poured down their throats for simply possessing a Bible in their own language. The Hmong tribe is the largest in Southeast Asia, numbering 10 million. Meeting secretly in homes, more than 2 million have recently committed their lives to Christ. The persecution facing our brothers and sisters is not a human tragedy. It's a spiritual reality facing the body of Christ. We may not be able to stop the attacks, but we can ease their pain. Through prayer, encouragement, and practical assistance, we can fellowship in their suffering. We can show them that they are not forgotten. It's hard to ignore their pain after you hear their cries.
That these things were true. When the governor motioned for him to speak, Paul replied,
"I know that for a number of years you have been a judge over this nation, so I gladly make my defense. You can easily verify that no more than 12 days ago I went up to Jerusalem to worship. My accusers did not find me arguing with anyone at the temple or stirring up a crowd in the synagogues or anywhere else in the city, and they cannot prove to you the charges they are now making against me. However, I admit that I worship the God of our fathers as a follower of the way, which they call a sect. I believe everything that agrees with the law and that is written in the prophets, and I have the same hope in God as these men, that there will be a resurrection of both the righteous and the wicked."
1978, Jonestown, Guyana. More than 900 members of the People's Temple cult drink poison Kool-Aid in the largest mass suicide ever. 1993, Waco, Texas. 86 Branch Davidian cult members die in a fire after a standoff with federal agents at their compound. About 1997, near San Diego, 39 Heaven's Gate cult members kill themselves, believing they've left their human containers to board a mothership following the Hale-Bopp comet.
They were quiet, they were secluded, minded their own business, and killed themselves.
Fast forward to 1999. Fence Lake, New Mexico. At this compound near Gallup, dozens of members calling themselves the Aggressive Christianity Mission Training Corps make money selling homemade bread and Southwest-style furniture. Could they be planning a mass suicide?
We're facing the millennium. It's Y2K. The apocalypse is near. I mean, all of these are reasons. They're just a heightened sense of awareness.
And is that awareness taking place here as well?
Of course.
This massive tragedy, the United States sought to understand exactly what had happened. How had one man convinced nearly 1,000 people to poison themselves? Why didn't the US government do something to stop it before it went too far? Here's where it gets crazy. Let's start with Jim Jones. He believed that the CIA was trying to dismantle the People's Temple, but since his death the conspiracy world has been consumed with the possibility that he was a CIA agent working in the MKUltra program, a CIA mind control project. Other cult leaders such as David Koresh and Charles Manson were thought to be involved in similar experiments. To these conspiracists, the Jonestown compound was a failed experiment in mass indoctrination. According to this theory, the inhabitants of Jonestown were murdered when the experiment went awry, and the anti-CIA Congressman Leo Ryan was only icing on the cake. Yet another theory goes further, alleging that the deaths at Jonestown were always intended. Though mainstream history tells us the cultists died of poison, contrary rumors persist, including allegations of death by gunshot. Yet some conspiracists disagree and argue that the CIA and FBI were never helping the People's Temple. In fact, these agencies wanted to destroy the temple because of its communist leanings and contact with the Soviets. Despite their differences, these theories share some common traits. First, the discrepancy in the body count. Originally, the body count was over 400 people, but this gradually changed to more than 900 by the close of the investigation. Then there's Jones' cryptic statement recorded shortly before his death, where he says, "Get Dwyer out of here," often thought to refer to CIA agent Richard Dwyer, who was the deputy chief of mission for the U.S. Embassy in Guyana at the time. Here's the most disturbing part. Many Jonestown conspiracists believe that Congressman Ryan was executed by CIA agents pretending to be temple security guards. Leo Ryan was one of the most vocal anti-CIA critics of his time, but being a critic of the CIA doesn't mean that they assassinated him, does it? So who's correct about Jonestown? To mainstream historians, the tragedy at Jonestown is just that, a tragedy blown out of proportion by people with overactive imaginations in place of facts. But to conspiracy theorists, Jonestown was something more. A cover-up, an experiment, perhaps most disturbing, a practice run. And the most important question is not what happened at Jonestown, but what will happen next.
New tonight at 10 o'clock, a family speaks out about a New Mexico group. It is a story we first told you about last week. And 10 at 10 reporter Darren White joining us right now in the News Center, continuing our exclusive report tonight.
Art, it's a possible doomsday cult. And with the end of the century only 3 days away, relatives of group members are fearing the worst.
Your world could end tomorrow and so could mine. There is such a thing as death.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm turning a corner to tie all the dots together. There's a common modus operandi that has been cooked up by the CIA, MKUltra, Vatican, Jesuits in cahoots with the CIA and mass media, where they label and affix guilt by association and brainwash the society at large against groups that they deem as threats to their New World Order program, which is in control and inspired by Satan himself. These common points are going to be specified and brought up in this next news segment. It's this next blast and brainwashing episode by CBS Southwest Channel 10 and this crime reporter. So let's look at these points and see how they all tie together with Jonestown and Waco. And now they're trying the same tactics against aggressive Christian missionary training corps.
Thurman and other cult experts say that 24 members of the Aggressive Christianity Mission Training Corps who live and work at this compound have all the symptoms of a classic cult. A powerful leader, mind control, seclusion, isolation, and the disowning of family and possessions. And with the end of the millennium just a few days away, thoughts now turn to mass suicide.
The worst thing I think of is that they'll all pull one of the Heaven's Gate thing, where they all commit suicide. Even if that doesn't happen, if Clark were to ever get out, he would need so much deprogramming and so much mental health work, and it's just scary.
In our exclusive interview with the former member, we learned of allegations of sexual and physical abuse of children and the killing of animals. Tonight, she says members of the group were drugged to remain loyal, including the children. So tonight, more bad news for the group called